I'm going to walk you through a really simple way to get more dream clients from the content that you are already posting. And what I mean by content is things that you are putting out there organically, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or the tickety tocketies or the YouTubes or maybe running ads or speaking at events or doing podcasts, anything that you're doing to communicate your message out there to advertise your product or program, your service. I'm going to show you how to essentially say the right words in the right way to the right people to position yourself within your niche as the one right and obvious choice. Now, what we're going to be diving into is not how to become insta famous. I'm not going to try to show you how to go viral or any of these things. Well, that can certainly happen. We've had videos that have gone viral, but really how to convert, how to actually communicate in a way that's going to get people to say, I am interested, and they will respond more to your call to actions, more to your post, more to the things that you were doing within your marketing. Again, whether it's organic or ads. And so let's go ahead and start here. We're going to unpack the anatomy of a hero message, and you can infuse this into any type of posting you do, whether you're writing content, whether you're doing videos, whether you're creating ads or you're speaking at events, wherever, it all works the same. And so the first step is, let's start here. If you're not even posting content or doing anything at all, and you're just like clicking on this video and, mental masturbation or whatever, like my first piece of advice to you is just go out there and start posting. Get messy, get cray with it, all right? You got to be able to find your voice, find your message. And the only way to do that is by practicing, by doing it. I remember the first times that I was really trying to figure out content, like back in 2016. I was so nervous. I remember trying to go live and I would be posting and doing all of this stuff and I would be reading off scripts and I would have cotton mouth. I was so nervous. So sometimes you just got to figure it out by doing it. But I'm going to assume you're already there and that you're already now posting content. You've maybe tried running ads. Maybe you are running ads. You're doing things. And so at this point, we want to make it more efficient. And so in order to get any lead, because if you've been in business for any length of time, there's a vast difference between an unqualified lead, a moderately qualified lead, and a mother-loving dream client. There is a big difference. And so I'm going to show you how to get more dream clients. I want you to imagine right now who your all-time best client is. I want you to think of one person. Can you think of them? One person, not 7, 1. Who is that one person? I want you to think about them right now. And again, if you've never had a client, just click off this video and go get a damn client. But chances are you've had a dream client. I want you to really think about why they came to you. What was their immediate problem that they were like, dude, I really need help solving this specific problem? What is their demographics, their psychographics? What about them, if you had a video camera that you were literally walking around recording their entire life, what does a day in the life look like through them? And if, we had the little, neural links or whatever, we could stick it in their head and we can read their mind. What are they thinking? What beliefs do they have? We want to get really clear on one person when you're doing this, because this is going to make things the most impactful. And we're going to unpack this in a second, but you have to understand right now, there is a book, and I don't have it in my office. I think it's in my bedroom, as I've been rereading it again for the 100th time. But there's an awesome book by the late Eugene Schwartz called Breakthrough Advertising. And in this book, he unpacks two kind of principles. One is the sophistication levels of a market, and the other is the awareness levels of a market. And so we're going to talk about the sophistication levels of a market, because if you think about, if you're the first to the market, let's imagine back in like the 20s, the 20s or 30s, the first to the market in weight loss would be like, lose that ugly fat fast. And people were like blown away. They're like, whoa, I can lose my ugly, nasty fat and fast? It was like a breakthrough revolution for people. They're like, I don't understand. And so marketers could take advantage of that. And they could sell lots of products, around that. And then, of course, now, second to the market, people start becoming aware of like false claims, or even if they are accurate claims, they start becoming more aware of them and it becomes a little bit more muddled, right? So second to the market typically can still get away with very bold claims, very generic claims. But the more people come into a marketplace, so like today, if we look at the online coaching space, the online consulting space, the service industry, all of the industries, it's very crowded. There's a lot of people in the market serving your same sub niche. And so, in order to be able to stand out, we need to go past, and again, level three with the sophistication level, which we need to go past this, is having a unique mechanism. Something that unique to where it could be lose 20 pounds fast without extreme dieting using this flexible fuel framework. That helps a lot, but now everybody, because they can just use Chat GPT, and Chat GPT's like, gives you like the mom method. Like everything it gives you is like an acronyms, it's funny. But everybody has a unique mechanism, and it's kind of stupid. And I'll explain why half of these people don't know what they're doing and why it's probably not working if you've Chat GPT'd your unique mechanism. Anyways, don't get me started on that. But that even so we have to go a couple layers deeper in sophistication. So the market is super aware of this. And so in order for you to be able to truly stand out, in order for you to be able to truly convert and make any content that you do convert better, let's go ahead and unpack this anatomy of a hero message and how you can apply it into your business. And so let's take this person. Let's imagine their name is Tom. Okay. Tom. He is a overworked dad who is been hustling and grinding in his career to provide for his family. He's made it pretty decently high in a corporate America, and he's put that time in, but he's let his body go. He's put on about 50 pounds, maybe 53 to be exact. And he just hasn't had the drive or motivation. His testosterone levels are dropping. He keeps telling himself he's going to go back to the gym, but then his buddies are like, bro, you should come over and have a craft, IPA with me, and like, let's catch up and smoke some cigars and play some poker. And then he goes home and he's with his family, right? You want to get so deep into that person's like narrative, what's going on in their life. And then from there, once you have that with your person, I want you to think about as if you were tapping in to their story. Because as Donald Miller explains in his book, Story Brand, is you yourself as the brand, as the product, as the service, as the person that's providing things to people. You're not the hero. They're the hero. And so the anatomy of a hero message is you have to make them the hero. And so what is their external struggle? What's the biggest thing that they're dealing with? Because when you can get really clear, not just clear, but you can get specific. And this could be like, he has, 50-ish pounds of stubborn belly fat that is hanging over. He has very low energy. Testosterone levels are dropped. Like that level of specificity, right? And then what's that internal struggle? What's that internal turmoil that he's dealing with, or she is dealing with? Like getting really clear, like beating themselves up. They're like as detailed as you can get, the better. And then you want to really unpack what's the core problem. So, in our example, what is Tom out there looking for? Is he already kind of seeking solutions for that? So it might be as simple as he has extreme, he has a, decent amount of belly fat on him. He knows he needs to change, but he lacks motivation. And part of that's due to low testosterone. What's that core problem for him? And then I want you to think about what are some of the specific actions that Tom is taking. Now, I want you to really sit here with this for a second, because most people stay super generic, and this is why they attract mediocre leads, if any leads at all. I want you to think about the specifics here, not just, oh, he's dieting, or he's doing cardio, or he's doing X, Y, and Z. I want you to think about what is he doing? Maybe nothing, right? But he's probably doing something if he's going to hire you. And so maybe right now he's running on the treadmill that he bought for his house 3 times a week, right? Maybe he bought a treadmill and it's become a nightstand for him, or a clothes hanger. Maybe he's hired, 2 to 3 personal trainers and they're just not seeming to work out for his lifestyle, right? Maybe he's trying XYZ diet that his coworkers have tried. Like the layers of specificity are going to help you when we talk about how to integrate this into your marketing. And then I want you to think about what limiting beliefs does he or she have? Again, needless to say, the more specific, the better. And so maybe for him, this is just how life is at this age. Maybe it's my genetics right now. Maybe he believes that he needs to diet down because that's what he did back in high school, or college or whatever for sports, right? what you want to get clear on, like, what are those limiting beliefs? And there might be a lot of them, but you want to at least get clear on 3 to 5. And the more specific you can get, the better. Again, don't think about a whole niche. This is why people struggle. Think about Tom. Think about your Tom, right? Who is that person for you? Once you're clear on that, you got to put an idea of what I would call their struggle story. You've tapped into the specifics of what's going on in Tom's life. And when I'm saying Tom, for clarity at this point, hopefully you're on the same page as me. This is your version of Tom. Now we want to move into the villain, okay? In any great story, there is a villain. And so if you want to position your person as a hero, which you should, because that's how they're going to pay you money, you got to put a villain in place. And there's already a villain. You just have to name it, right? And so Tom's example, the villain might be that he's caught in the restrictive diet trap, or he's caught in the low testosterone syndrome, right? We want to make the villain to where it's not necessarily Tom's fault. We're with him fighting against this villain, right? Maybe modern day society is lowering his testosterone because all the food is filled with a bunch of bullshit, or whatever. Or maybe he's, the millennial generation failed him. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But we want to position the villain like we're fighting against it. It's like in Batman, when Batman goes and recruits like, Robin or whatever. He's, bro, we got to go fight the Penguin, He doesn't just be like, man, there's this kind of like fat guy who walks around with an umbrella. Bro, don't hurt the fat guy with the umbrella. Let's nurture him. But when you're like, no, this guy's name's the Penguin and he like the umbrella like shoots missiles and shit, you're like, oh, whoa, okay, let's kill him. And so we want to make sure that we're positioning the villain as something that we can help him fight against. And so once we can do that, all we have to do is name it. We want to be able to give them the turning point. The turning point is going to be what Russell Brunson calls this the epiphany bridge story in his book, Expert Secrets. We want to be able to have that turning point story, that epiphany bridge story. And that could be as simple as your own transformation of when you figured this crap out. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, I once thought the same thing. And then now I've kind of had my own moment. You could just talk about that story in your content to help bridge the gap from struggle to villain to, when you figured out the solution. Or you could talk about a client, that you've helped. But usually a story is a great way to be able to demonstrate that turning point and allow them to walk as a bridge over into the next part, which is going to be the transformation journey, right? The transformation journey. And so the transformation journey is going to be as simple as, what is that dream outcome that they want? What is it? The more specific, the more tangible, the more concrete that you can get, the more this is going to work for you. If you try to stay in vague vanilla land, you're going to just get walked all over. People aren't going to pay attention. And so in Tom's case, this can be like, hey, Tom, do you want to lose, that nasty, 40 to 50 pounds of stubborn belly fat that's just hanging over your belly, giving you that dreaded dad bod look to where your kids don't even respect you. We want to get really clear on that so that when Tom's, hell yeah, man, do you want to boost your testosterone levels back up so you can step into being the man that you're put here to be? Like, the more specific we can get, the better. So we want to think about that dream outcome. And then just like any journey, Tom is not going to lose 40 to 50 pounds overnight. In any story, there's an actual journey. And so get very specific on what's the short term, what's the medium term, what's the long-term journey. And so this might be like, Tom, short term, you're going to probably lose 5 to 10 pounds of water weight, and you're going to start to feel more confident, more energized, because we're getting your body moving the right way. Then you are going to, be down maybe 15, 20 pounds. You're going to notice some noticeable definition. You're going to just feel a heck of a lot better. Your testosterone levels are going to be going up. So you're going to have more motivation, and, your wife's going to be proud of you. And then, long term, you're going to be down 40 to 50 pounds. You're going to now, might even be able to see, 2 to 4 abs. Your testosterone levels are going to be through the roof. You're going to go to your doctor and they're going to probably be like, damn, dude, you're looking better now than you were in your 30s. So you want to make it really specific, really clear so Tom can envision himself going through the transformation. And it makes it more believable because it is believable, because that's how transformations work. They happen in stages. They don't just, you don't wake up one day and be like, damn, how'd I get this ripped? It doesn't work like that. It's like you wake up one day and you're broke, and next that morning you're like, I'm rich. Jeez, whoa. It doesn't work like that, right? So you want to walk people through that transformation journey. It's going to make a massive difference in your marketing when you apply this stuff. And then, of course, let's get into the next piece, which is the big idea, the unique solution that allows people to achieve that transformation. And so if we think about, the framework that Donald Miller talked about, where, you become the guide, right? So you're like the Yoda to the Luke Skywalker, to use a nerdy Star Wars reference. You are what is it from Hunger Games? Like the Haymitch to Katniss, you're the guide. And the guide has to have the plan. So the guide's plan is your unique solution. And so going back to Tom's case, I'm going to name a unique solution. And so my actual unique solution for Tom back when I was selling fitness was the stubborn fat solution. That was it. And it was my unique methodology of how I worked out, how I personally ate, how I dealt with my mindset. And so I had built what worked for me, and then I sold it to lots of Toms. And so what is your unique solution? What is your plan? And you might have to name it, but the more important part is having the plan, right? And so when I sell like marketing consulting, the plan is I'm going to help people dial in their messaging. We're going to say the right words in the right way to the right people. Then I'm going to help them plug it into what I call conversion content campaigns. I'm going to show them how to run campaigns with the right types of content, the right hooks, the right call to actions to be able to fill up a webinar, a masterclass, a challenge. And then I show them how to convert from that challenge or that masterclass or that webinar, whatever you want, workshop, whatever you want to call it, some type of live video presence, right? And then I show them how to install a content ecosystem. So anybody that doesn't buy continues to get nurtured via their email list, via YouTube's or podcasts. And we have this whole thing. And that allows people to be able to sometimes double or even triple the amount of inbound leads they get, calls they get booked, and clients they sign, which obviously has an impact on revenue. So you see how this all works. You just have to have a plan, right? And then you want to name it. That's the important part. If you're just like, yeah, I'm going to show you how to work out, and then we're going to eat healthier, and I'm going to make you move. Like, nobody's going to buy your shit because it sounds just like everybody else. And so this is where, going back to market sophistication, well, you can't only have this. I'm telling you, everybody has a unique solution, basically, unless you're a beginner and you're just starting out. You're like, probably not you, but most people do. And so you want to make sure that you have one so that people are like, oh, I can see how he or she's different. Okay. And then once you have that, and typically 3 to 5 steps or phases is all you really need. Once you start getting more than 3 to 5 phases, you might want to look at simplifying, or maybe you need more mastery in what you're teaching. Because if you need somebody to go through 9 stages, 9 phases, 9 steps, that's a lot. You know what I mean? And we might even want to look at having a front end program and a back end program at that point. If you need somebody to go through, it's like climbing a Mount Everest. You know what I mean? It's, bro, let's get the base camp first. So if you have a process that takes somebody like, obviously all transformations take a while, but you just want to make sure that how you're framing your unique solution, it's in 3 to 5 phases or 3 to 5 steps, even if you have to combine certain things in one phase, if that makes sense. And I have a whole video that I walk through how to actually unpack these phases. So feel free to, shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm happy to give that to you. And then the last piece here is arguably one of the more important pieces in today's age, is we want to have belief shifting and influence inside of our marketing and messaging. Because look, man, the world is just bombarded with information right now. Like Google's done a study that shows that there's like over, I think, 1.1 billion posts being published every day, which is nuts. And so if you're just giving information to people, but you're not influencing them, you're going to have a hard time converting. And so influence looks at what is that core belief that somebody believes now. So if we go to Tom's, my genetics are screwed up. I believe that I just have to diet down again. And he believes that to be true. And let's imagine the solution is you have to eat healthy, you have to be able to eat more calories. You can eat carbs. You have to eat right. It's not your genetics. He's not going to believe you because he has a belief, and people will cling on to their beliefs with all of their life. People fight for their limiting beliefs, unfortunately. And so we have to have a little bit of persuasion, a little bit of influence, a little bit of truth that we have to speak to them. And so in order to do that, you just got to get clear on what your belief is. And so in this example, we could say, Tom, it's not about eating healthy. It's about eating right. If you're just focused on eating healthy or dieting down, this is why it's not working. And then, you can give him logical reasoning of why it's not working. And then obviously you could do this on a sales call. I'm more so like how I would talk about this in content. And then you have to actually eat right. You have to dial in your calories. You have to get your macros on point. You have to make sure that you're eating the right proportions, the right food choices that are sustainable for you. And then I would go in and tell a story. This is the number one way. There's so many ways to shift beliefs, but one of the easiest ways for most people to learn influence and belief shifting is by telling a story. And again, going back to the Epiphany Bridge story, it acts very similar. In fact, sometimes it's the same story. But you want to be able to either tell your personal story of when you figured out this belief and how it transformed you, or a client story, right? In this example, I might say, hey, look, my client Holly, she thought that it was her genetics. She thought she was, it's just the way life was supposed to be now. She tried dieting down like she did back in college. She cut out all of her carbs. She was eating 600 calories a day, and she was miserable. And then we got her onto the Flex Fuel Nutrition plan, and she was able to immediately lose 10 pounds of water weight in the first week or so. And then within about 90-ish days, she was down about 25 pounds, I think 6 inches from her belly. And she was even on the boat, right? So it's like when you could start going into an actual story, it allows the emotional side to come out. It allows people to have hope. It allows people to attach to something to where they can see themselves in that story. And so that is one of the easiest ways to do that. And so having those stories and having that clarity on that belief is going to allow you to be able to now take all of this stuff that we just went over, apply it into your content, and then be able to demonstrate to people through the power of storytelling, through the power of influence and belief shifting. And that way, when you go to make your call to actions, you're going to get a lot more people that respond to you. At least it's been my experience. And so to kind of bring this back full circle, once you're clear on this, and again, messaging, we can go into a whole, I teach people an entire advanced framework on messaging, especially if they're more sophisticated business owners. They've been in the game a lot. So what we went over, this is probably more, I would say, intermediate. There's way more that we can go into that I share with my consulting clients. But this is a good place to start. In fact, this will take you a long way. And so what you want to start looking at when you are creating is how can you create better hooks and titles and headlines, and how can you create better stories within your content or call to actions within your content using more specificity, using the stuff that you come up with, because when you say the right words in the right way to the right people, you're going to get more of the right people interested in what you're doing. Whether you are posting content on, the organic platforms, or you're boosting posts or running ads or doing podcasts or speaking events. I've used this across all mediums, and at the foundation, it works amazing. It's if somebody's on a nutrition plan, it's like the calories are what matter most. Not the right calories. Doesn't matter how healthy they're eating. Messaging's the same. I don't care what your content or marketing plan looks like. If your messaging isn't dialed in, none of that crap's going to work. Hope you found this helpful. Click subscribe. Follow for more. Bye for now.